Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be working on my wife's car. She's been complaining about it grinding and that kind of thing. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but it's pretty bad. It's got a bit of grinding. But basically what had happened was my wife, she is saying that she was hearing some grinding noise coming from the back. And so get home from work and I jump in it and I hear no grinding. So a week or so went by and she's like, man, it's still grinding. Jumped in it and jumped in the car, still no grinding. I went forward and went backwards, hard stops, slow stops. I just couldn't get it. I couldn't hear it grinding. So I didn't know, to be honest, I didn't know for sure if that's what it actually was or if she was hearing something else. So we get in the car Monday and back the car up to go take the kids to the football game, and man, this thing is just grinding like crazy. So another kind of telltale sign is you can see how much brake dust, you can kind of see how much brake dust has accumulated back here compared to the front. Here's the front, and here's the back. So I think what might happen is that caliper might be bad, because you see all this is actually relatively clean. And this has a lot of brake dust on it. So whenever we get it apart, we'll check that caliper. For a new caliper, it's like $70, I think, something like that. So not too horribly expensive, but we'll check and see if that caliper is stuck. We'll look at both sides of the pad, also compare these pads to the other side, to the driver's side pad. That'll also let us know if that caliper is messing up or not. So. I got these on eBay. They are front and rear rotors with pads. They are drilled and slotted. Okay, so what's the number for that? Alright. So you get this brake grease. This goes on these. These do not go on your pads. This brake grease goes on the little sliding action of your calipers. I'll show you that here in a second. So here's the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. It comes with the brake grease as well. You can see these are bigger, so yeah, these are good. Pretty nice. So as you can see, these are drilled and slotted. Now, let me tell you a little story. Back in my younger, dumber days, we've all been there, I had a 98 Z28 Camaro. Pretty fast car. It was my daily driver. It ran a mid to high 12s in the quarter mile. Did a lot of racing. Don't condone that. In fact, you know, there's racetracks all over the place. You can go all night. And a lot of times if you break down at the track, there's a lot of people there to help you out. Plus, obviously, it's a lot safer and no tickets. So, I was out racing one time, and a lot of times whenever we would race here in Oklahoma, a lot of times there's a place called 39th Street, and it's a really busy street in Bethany, Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, kind of one of those little metro towns. Saturday nights at about 9, 10 o'clock, something like that, until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It is a really busy street. Me and a bunch of my friends, we would just hang out, chill, talk to people. You know, we're all car guys. We talk about cars, and we had a lot of people that would talk smack also, and just talk about how great their cars are. And well, we kind of say, well, let's go prove it. Head out on the street. So I guess a lot of the noobs would race down on 39th Street. They get busted all the time from the cops. But what we would do is we'd talk to some people and be like, all right, well let's go prove it. Let's go see who's actually telling the truth. So we go way out, sometimes 15 miles from where we were. But even though street racing is not safe, again, I don't recommend it or condone it. Whenever we would do it, we'd always go out on like a 2-lane road, usually a 2-lane highway where nobody could pull in, really straight, that kind of thing. If there ever was an accident, we're kind of putting the best odds in our favor that we would hurt ourselves and not other people, basically. Again, I know, dumb, don't do it. But there's this road, and we'd take off driving, and at the end it would come into like a T, and so you basically a quarter mile before the end of the track, or our little spot that we had, we'd have a breakdown area, and you would just light up just stomp on the brake, and you'd come to a stop, and everything's good. A lot of times you'd look over at the guy next to you and his brakes would just be bright red. So I had just factory brakes on mine, which did a pretty good job. But I went to a vented rotor. I don't think you can see this, but that's just the vent that's right here, not the drill. But basically what happens is whenever you're stomping on the brakes and you have your brake pads, they're building up a lot of heat and friction and all that stuff, and there's little pieces of the brake pad that's breaking down, and it has to have a place to go. So what happens is it kind of forms a cushion between your rotor and your brake pad. So whenever you have that vent that's in there, or the drill holes, that lets those extra gases inside escape through the vent holes and through the drill holes and all that. So whenever you have all that buildup of the gas pressures and stuff like that, that's called, you get a lot of brake fade. So you can be stomping on your brake, and the longer it takes for you to stop with some really hard pressure, that gas builds up and everything, and it doesn't stop nearly as well as before it had all that built up gas pressure. So yeah, with the vented and slotted and all that stuff, it allows the gas to escape. It keeps your rotors cooler. It gives a place for the gases to come out and escape, and you don't get the brake fade. So I highly recommend it on any time you're going to do a brake job, even for your daily driver. You never know when you're going to be going down the highway and God forbid a pileup happen in front of you and you have to just slam on the brakes from 70, 80 miles an hour. You don't want that brake fade in there. So that's why I'm going with the vented and drilled rotors. And actually these going this way was cheaper than buying OEM stuff from your typical auto parts store, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, whatever you have, Napa. Alright, so I bought this complete set, the front rotors, rear rotors, front pads, rear pads, for $157.52. shipped to the door. So whenever it comes to just like your regular daily driver stuff, I recommend it. The cheaper ones, I've heard that they crack easy. You can't turn them as far as resurfacing the rotors and all that stuff. But I think the benefit outweighs the cons. I've also heard that the brakes tend to squeak more and all that. Usually the squeaking is with the pads. So if it gets just that bad, you can just buy upgraded OEM pads or something like that. Now if this was a track car or a race car or whatever, I probably would not use this because that's made, you know, those are extreme conditions all the time, constantly. You just don't do that in the, well, I know some of y'all might, but you just don't do that in the real world. I had these, it might even be the same brand. I had those on the Corvette, and man, they've been excellent. Hadn't had any problems with them. No squeaking. You don't get the heat brake fade and all that stuff. They've been really good. So that's another reason why I went and for the daily driver. So I think that's enough of me yapping about this. Look forward to the next video, and we'll slap these brakes on here. This is kind of my take on the cross-drilled and slotted rotors and kind of the introduction. The other thing we're going to do, the other thing I wound up doing to this is the rear shocks and the struts. The driver's side strut is bad, so whenever you're doing struts, you want to do them at the same time. And the shocks, might as well do those. I got a package deal for that for like $170 something like that. And it came with the springs already on there, so I don't have to worry about taking the old springs off. In my PJs today, soaking up the sun is actually pretty nice. So I might wind up doing this tomorrow afternoon. It's so windy today, it makes it pretty chilly, but without the wind it's really nice. So I'll probably wind up doing this tomorrow. So if you want to learn how to put some cross-drilled and slotted rotors on your car, at least on a 2004 Nissan Murano, stay tuned, I'll show you how I do it. We'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. See ya.